This Oregon Ducks football team under Dan Lanning, this is a new Oregon. And we said it a lot during the offseason, but I want us to get aligned on what they are right now during the season. Because I think what we said before the season about them being that different Ducks outfit, it's true. I'm not talking about the uniforms, right? Those are sweet, though. Make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Oregon Duck fans, y'all have been crushing, all right? Just from us to y'all have been crushing. We appreciate you for that. If you haven't yet subscribed to this platform, the On3 YouTube channel, love to have you here. Also, the hard count brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks have a square for the Oregon-Michigan game that we really like a little bit later in this show. Use code HARDCOUNT just for playing now, even if we don't win, though I'm feeling good about this one, right? Even if we don't win, though, $5 on lineups using code HARDCOUNT gets you $50 in promo funds to use the rest of your college football Saturday and beyond. So let's start here. What did we used to say about Oregon? When I say what we used to say about Oregon, think about the last 10 or so years when you think about Oregon Ducks football. You think about dope uniforms. That's still the case, all right? So don't worry about that. But you would think about a team that would typically do more with less, right? You would think of three-star guys. You would think of fast offense. You would think of scheming around your personnel. And Oregon found a way to be successful consistently. Development, they were able to have a lot of success on the field. I'm not trying to discredit that at all. But this current Oregon football team and what Dan Lanning's Oregon is, this is a different Oregon operation. And the thing that sticks out most specifically here, this is like a big dog roster, like genuinely a big dog roster. This is an Oregon Ducks roster that you could put up there against Ohio State, clearly, against Georgia, against Alabama, against, you name it. This Oregon football team can walk into any arena and feel good about their chances with how they stack up physically. Again, that wasn't always the case with old Oregon. Like the caliber of player here, look at just the roster itself. There are guys on this roster that could play a lot of other places. And that wasn't always the case with old Oregon. Now, I'm not speaking specifically to like a Marcus Mariota or a LaMichael James. Like, I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is like where some of these guys have come from across the roster, not just at like the quarterback position. Dylan Gabriel, though, obviously come from Oklahoma. Jordan Birch from the SEC, played at South Carolina. Now he's wreaking havoc for Oregon. Derek Harmon, Big Ten country, wreaking havoc for Oregon right now. Evan Stewart, also an SEC guy at A&M, balling for Oregon on the perimeter. So you see what I'm saying here? Like, there's a lot of pieces on this roster that didn't just kind of find their way to Eugene and they're three-star guys and then they're able to be in the right position and have success because of the scheme. And, Oregon took a flyer on a couple of these guys and ended up hitting. Like, no, these are like legitimate NFL players all over this roster. That's different. Again, that is different from what Oregon football was 5-10 years ago. All right? Also, look at the recruiting classes that Dan Lanning's brought in. Top 10 and top 3 the last 2 years. That'll do. The chops of this roster, the chops of this football team, you can feel confident, not just in the schematics, though. Will Stein, Tosh Lapoy, two of the best coordinators in the business. You can feel confident if it comes down to personnel, we're going to have what we need. Absolutely massive. It's reflected in the way that they play as well. This is a physical organ. Like some teams, or maybe not teams isn't the right way to put it. Sometimes you get teams that are large in stature but don't play large, right? Like sometimes that happens. Oregon is big and then plays big. Like they're averaging 5 yards a carry on the ground. That's a defense that flies around on all three levels of the football field. They play to the caliber of their stature, which I think is worth noting here. And I think they play to the caliber of their stature because of who you have running this whole operation with Dan Lanning. We've talked a lot about Dan Lanning on the show, since he got the job at Oregon, but you just continue to see this positive trend. You continue to see him do what great coaches and great program builders do. Yes, he acquires top talent, but I think the way that they're aggressive on game day, the way that they're gritty on game day, they're tough on game day, that's a reflection of Dan Lanning. Those are Dan Lanning's traits, solidifying themselves, embodying within this football team all of those things. And so when we talk about Oregon now going forward, I think a lot of people will see this and say, well, they're all hype, right? They're going to lose in November. They peaked at the wrong time. Get them against an SEC team. We'll see what Oregon is. That's always a good one to hear. The new Oregon that I'm speaking to isn't just about this year. Like Oregon right now, number one team in college football. If they were to win a national championship, that shouldn't be surprising to anybody. But even if they don't, what I'm speaking to is about how Oregon operates currently, how they now are built from a roster level, how they are with a coaching staff. Like this change at Oregon overall, this is a lifestyle change. This is a structural change. It's not just a 1 year or a couple years they built to. Like this is new. This is now real. The base and the traits of this thing is real in Eugene. And you look at previous coaches that have had the head coaching job at Oregon, and this is not a knock on them. They've all left for different reasons, but a lot of those previous head coaches just built Oregon tall, if that makes sense. Like they'd have some success, and then they'd pivot to another job, right? Dan Lanning is building Oregon wide with the recruiting prowess he's got right now, with the way they're attacking the portal, and with what he sees Oregon to be, too. Remember now, and people will debate this probably for the rest of time until we get some definitive answer from Dan Lanning as to whether he was seriously offered the Alabama job or not. Again, I think that there was probably interest. I think Dan Lanning shut that down prior to there even being real legs to that conversation. If Dan Lanning's not even entertaining the Alabama job, what job is he leaving for? You know, like if you're not leaving for let's call a spade here, more or less what at the time was a ready-made roster to go win at a high level in the SEC, what job are you leaving for? And so when we speak about Dan Lanning here, a lot of people will say, well, but at some point in time, you got to get back to the Southeast, right? Or get back to Texas or, you know, kind of he's from Missouri. Maybe you go back to that area. Like at some point in time, right, the dudes, the five-star cats, the recruiting juice is all going to be in that part of the U.S., right? Well, maybe historically that would be true. And I'm not denying that there's tremendous talent during that, you know, or in that part of the United States. That's 100% the case. But I think now in modern college football, with NIL and with just the nature of realignment and things like that, I think recruiting nationally from a place like Oregon is a lot like long-distance dating. Like you can make it work if you've got enough effort and if you want it bad enough. Like if you genuinely want it with every fiber of your being to stay together or to have a relationship with that person, you're going to make it work. That's the same way that Dan Lanning, I believe, views recruiting. If you want to go get 5 stars bad enough, you will make it your lifestyle to get on the private jet, to jump on the phone, to live on FaceTime, whatever you do to recruit at the highest level. Dan Lanning, from what I can tell, based on the results here, is committed to and willing to do that. And oh, by the way, too, doesn't hurt having that Nike check, both from a logo standpoint and then from a resources standpoint to help get things done. So all that's to say now, this is a new Oregon. This year is great, and we're seeing everything we knew Dan Lanning was play itself out in this 2024 season. But make no mistake, like what we're seeing right now is not just a one-off, not just a pop year. This is a legitimate new Oregon program, and I cannot wait to see what they do in the future. I'll say this to end. It is a matter of time, in my estimation, a matter of when, not if, Dan Lanning wins a national title at Oregon in the not-too-distant future. All right? I'm looking forward to it. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you're subscribed. The hard count, like I said, brought to you by Prize Picks. The square we love in this game, Dillon Gabriel. His passing total that is projected against Michigan is 274.5 yards. We'll take the more there. Dillon Gabriel is averaging 291.5 yards in his last 5 games. Translation, they're going to air it out. He's going to have success. Will Johnson, we'll see what he is in this game. If he's available, he's not going to be full strength from what I can tell based on everything that's being said. Go ahead and take the more there and use code HARDCOUNT to get yourself some free promo funds when you play $5 in lineups. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.